Hello everyone, my name is Roy Cornwall. It is August the 5th, that's a Monday at 12/18, 2024. Um, I've told you a story about a Bigfoot. I've told you a story about a dragon. And what I'm going to give you today, it finishes the story between those two. Everything has been quiet around my place. Carol and I, we've been in touch with with baby. She turns her head every once in a while. That's about it. But we know she's there. We pat her on the way by, and we're gonna give her as much life there as she wants, right? So Carol and I went into town to do some grocery shopping, and we ran into Pappy and Karen. They are two places over, and once a year I had a party and I invited all the neighbors, so I knew who these people were, right? So Pappy says to me, he says, I got something I want to talk to you about. I thought it was just the garden or farming or something, regular stuff. He says, can I come over tonight? Are you having a fire? He says, yeah. I said, yeah, we're having a fire. Come on over tonight, Pappy. So Pappy and Karen come over that night, and Carol and I are in the yard, and we're uh, uh, having supper. The fire's going already, and but we're having supper. This is about 7 o'clock. We're having a late supper. Pappy comes over, we throw a cup, and Karen, we throw a couple of steaks on the barbecue for them. And we're standing around the barbecue and we're talking with the bonfire going there, and it's starting to get dark, but it's not dark. Um, Pappy says to me, he says, there's more to this world than what we can see. And I said, that's right, Roy, Pappy. He says, uh, I've known you for a number of years, Pappy says. We've had our place for over 150 years. And you've been here for quite a while yourself, you and your family. So I feel I can trust you. I said, sure you can trust me. Whatever you need, we'll help you with, I said. Pappy says, he pulls out this picture. It was about like this. It was big, pretty big. And it's of King Ang Kong. He pulls it out and he just shows it to me. I'm looking at it, I took it out of his hands and I'm looking at it. I didn't give him the reaction he expected, right? So I handed it back to him and I smiled. And he goes, like, he says, a penny for your thoughts? I said, well, before I tell you my thoughts, I want you to tell me more about, this is obviously a Bigfoot, right? He says, we call him King and Kong. I said, which one's which? He says, the one with the gray hair on the side of this is King. And the other one is Kong. A little bit smaller brother, right? And I said, where'd you get that picture from? He says, my backyard. I started laughing, right? He says, you don't believe me? I said, Pappy, I said, I believe everything you're saying right now. This caught Pappy off guard. He never expected this kind of a response. Uh, I said, do they come to your back of your house when you have a fire and stuff? He goes, yeah. I said, He goes, Pappy says, would you like to meet him? I said, yeah. So Pappy stands 6 feet away from the barbecue in the fire. He's over in the corner of the yard there, and he does his yodel. And the place went quiet. I never laughed at him. I just listened, right? Nothing. So he says, he's looking at his watch. He says, in 5 minutes, I'm going to do that again. So in 5 minutes, he does it again, right? And still nothing. So I'm saying, are you sure this is going to work? He goes, yeah. He says, they're so far away right now. They keep reorienting the direction they're going to realign with where I'm calling from. So just before I was going, Pappy was going to call again. We heard some trees crack in the distance. So Pappy did one more call just to make sure they knew where he was, and uh, Pappy says to me, he says, "Don't be afraid. These animals are 12 feet tall. Don't be afraid. They won't harm you." I said, "Okay." I'm not showing any fear because I've already been through this once with Baby. So I'm not showing any fear at all. I trust you, Pappy, I said. So, tree started going like this. I looked at Pappy. Pappy says, "It's the doorbell. They've been doing this for years. They do this to let you know they're coming in." Then I started getting really excited. I said, "They're right there." He says, "Yeah, right where that tree's looking." So the next thing I know, King steps out of the bush. He always leads first. Calling right behind him. I know just them two, right? And they walk right over to me. I could see that. Pappy could see that I was getting scared, but you know, you just can't be anything but scared when you're around these beasts. But I wasn't running. I just sort of stepped in behind Pappy. So Pappy ran up to him and gave him a hug, both of them. So I said, that tells me everything about their personality. Okay, Pappy's able to run up and give him a hug. So Pappy took him by the hand, which was up here like this, and walked him over to me, and Pappy says, "Do the Tarzan yell." I said, "What for?" I said, "Because it calls them. And if you do it here right now, they'll know that you're their friend and they're supposed to protect you." So this guy, Roy's a singer, and he's got a good voice to him. So he does the Tarzan yell, and it sounds just like in the movies. Just like in the movies. And King is looking down at him. He's looking down because he's 12 feet up, and I'm only 6 feet, right? And I walked over. As he looked at me, I walked over and I put my arm around his leg. Let him know I'm friendly. So Pappy smiled. Pappy knew this is. He says, "They'll take care of you now. You get into trouble, you do that Tarzan yell. They already came and saved your next door neighbor," I said, "from getting crushed by the tractor." And he said, "Was that them?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay." So I told Pappy, I said, "Just wait here. Our steaks are almost finished." Right? Carol's putting them on the table. Karen, that's setting the table. There's roasted potatoes and steak there and boiled corn, and you know we had a good dinner there. So just before supper, I went out to into the house, into my back room, and I got all the pictures I took. Well, I've got like 1,000 pictures of Baby, right? And through supper, I started telling Pappy the story of that statue in the living room. And he says, "What about the statue?" I said, "It comes alive." Well, Pappy starts laughing. He's never seen a statue come alive before. His friends are nature, okay? But this dragon is magical. So he finished. We finished our supper, and I never drank coffee, so I had a pop, and but he had a coffee, and we went into the living room to sit down and finish the story, right? Um, he says, "Oh, what does it look like when it changes into? What does it change into?" He says, and I looked at him and I said, "It changes into a real dragon about this high." He relaxed in the chair. He figured, you know, a big thing like Bigfoot is, but now it's only this little dragon. And he says, Will he change right in front of me here now?" I said, "Only if he wants to." I said, "But I got to tell you, Pappy, he hasn't changed in the last, I don't know, a couple of years at least. He hasn't changed. He's been content there." So, well, how can I believe you then? You know? So I showed him all the pictures of when we went into the cave and found his home and all that, and pictures of the dragon flying with Carol on its back, right? And pictures of the dragon before he got big. He was just a little guy, right? Pictures, lots of pictures of him in the home, sitting on Carol's lap, and Carol patting him and stuff. So, he says, I gotta see one. I gotta see one, he says. So, we're sitting in the living room, and he's looking right at the statue. And I said, well, we call it baby because we don't even know if it's a male or a female. It's had a baby, but that don't mean to say it's a male. There are creatures on this planet are male and female. And I've got a feeling he may be one of them. So I call him him. Carol calls him her. And we have this going on all the time. He says, okay. So Pappy stands up and he walks over and he pats him on the head. Like that. And I treat him like he's alive. I said, this statue is looking at me right now. I'm over here, Pappy's sitting over, he gets up and he walks over and he's patting this thing, right? But baby's looking at me. So he's patting him, right? And he's patting him and he's patting him. And he turned around and walked back to his seat. But while he turned around, he only had like 3 steps to go to his seat. But while he was taking those steps, baby turned his head from looking at me and looked at Roy, at Pappy. He looked right at Pappy. So when Pappy sat down and turned around and looked back, he saw the porcelain figure looking straight at him. And last time he saw it was looking over at Roy. He goes, okay, I believe you're right, he says, but I would still like to see the dragon. So I'm pleading with baby to show herself or himself to my friend. And he would not do it. He just wouldn't do it. I don't know why. This is a good man and everything. I'm just saying I don't understand this. But what had happened was, his baby caught a look at the picture that he brought. When he was showing me in the living room, baby saw that. And he saw the dragon picture. So he naturally figured he was evil. Because as far as I can tell, dragons and Bigfoot don't get along. They're mortal enemies. So we sort of both came to that conclusion. And Pappy says to the baby, he says, look, looking right into the porcelain baby's eyes, he says, I know you're alive. I know you're fearful of us causing any problem for you, but we won't, I promise. And he said, I only want to see you because I like dragons and I like Bigfoot. I like a lot of animals, I said. Still wouldn't do it. So, okay, so Roy's on the way to the door. He says, he says to me, Pappy says to me, he says, I don't like this. He says, he doesn't like me for some reason. Or he would show me, right? So Pappy goes home, and the next day, Pappy shows up at her door again, right? And only this time, he's got pictures of the baby Bigfoots with him. And he's showing him that baby sitting there. He doesn't even look like he's paying attention on it. He's looking up, but he's showing them these pictures. And when they got down to the real baby ones with the mothers holding the baby like this, I could see the head moving. Okay. So I said, baby, I said, you trust me, right? Carol and I, we've taken care of you. We'll never let anything happen to you. I said, but you got to make friends with these guys. You can't be at war all the time. So what we're going to do, and baby's still a porcelain figure, and we're telling them this in the living room. I'm saying, okay, we're going to have a fire tonight, and we're going to have, as to not overwhelm you, we're going to have just King come to the fire. and I would like it if you change into a dragon. And the two of you got along and made friends. That's what I want. So I hear nothing back from baby, right? So that night comes, and I got the fire going, and I got a little bigger fire than most, right? And I said, Pappy, call King. So he does. In the tree shaking, and out comes King. Nobody in the yard but me, and so King already knows me, right? And he knows Pappy, right? So he's comfortable. He comes in and he sits down. I'm sitting here by the fire. Pappy's there, and this beastie sits right between us, right? Sits down, crosses his legs, and he's still as tall as I am, even though he's sitting on the ground. So I went in the house and I got baby, the porcelain figure, and I brought him out, and I sat him on the ground, about 15 feet from the fire, facing the fire, and I could see baby's head moving as the porcelain figure. He looked right over at King. He didn't take his eyes off King. He was worried about King causing a problem. Okay, I think they've had bad problems back and forth over the years. So I said to Pappy, I said, the only way that baby's going to show himself here is if King proves to him that he's kind and gentle, right? So I picked the porcelain figure up and I walked the porcelain figure right over to King. And I took King's hand. It was heavy. All I did was hold on to it. He did all the lifting. He moved his hand over and he put it right on the statue. I started patting the statue, and King started patting. So this went for a minute, right? And I had to put him back over on the other side of the fire, on the ground. I said, "Okay, baby." I said, "Are you going to show me that the King is more braver than you are?" Well, I knew that would get baby. Baby's very proud of himself, and he thinks he's the top dog of the forest, and I believe he is. So he just sort of slowly changed into this 3-foot tall dragon, living dragon. And when he did that, King jumped. He literally jumped a long way up, and he landed, boom, the ground shook. And Pappy ran over to him and grabbed him by the hand. He says, "No, no, 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 no." He says, Pappy's telling him he's good. He said, he's not a bad beastie. So I walked over to baby and I put my arms around him and I'm patting her or him and kissing him, and King is watching this. I walked over to King, I patted him and I hugged him, and I walked back over to the small baby and I patted and hugged him. We sat around the fire for a while until King calmed down some. He's a wild beast from the forest. It took him a couple hours. We fed them both and stuff. And so Pappy goes over to King, right? And King's sitting down. Pappy crawls up on his lap and sits like a baby and he tells him, he says, he's pointing at the little dragon. And I said to baby, I said, "Okay, baby, it's time to show everybody," right? And he was going to do it right there, mother. I said, "No." I said, "Back up about 50 feet. Get away from King. Give him a chance to. So he backed up about 50 feet, and he slowly swelled up into this dragon the size of a bus, and unfolded his wings so they went up like this, right? And King stood up again. So I ran over to baby as the full dragon, and I asked for a kiss, and now baby couldn't kiss me when he was like that, but he would hold his breath and put his snout up against me like this, and I'd hug him and kiss him, and no. King is watching this. Up to this moment, King thought he was the king of the forest. But now he knows he's not. Baby is. So King calmed down. He wants to make friends with King now. And the whole night they just sat across the fire and looked at each other. And we fed him things like cucumbers from the garden and watermelons, and So morning comes, King gets off and walks back into the bush. Baby turns into a statue. We put him back in the house. The next day, Pappy and I are talking. We're saying, "What just happened last night?" I said, "Well, if I'm reading this right, Pappy, and you tell me if you agree." He said, "We made some headway there last night. King, when he walked off like he was walking away from you, a friend waving at the corner of the trees and then gone. That's what he did here. So I'm assuming that King and Baby are going to be okay together, right?" Well, this went on for a couple of years. I'd say 4 years, I think it was. Happy and me and Carol and Karen and all the neighbors, we knew about. Some of the other neighbors, the one that got lifted the tractor off him, he didn't know about Baby. So I said, it's about time. And so I got the neighbors, the 4 or 5 neighbors that were all on this line. We owned almost all the land for as long as you could see it, right? We had a bonfire, and Pappy called Kong, King, but this time King and Kong came out of the bush. And I called Baby, Carol called, brought the porcelain figure out. Baby turned into a 3-foot figure. And then he walked over to the fire. He in the baby figure, he walked right over to King. And King and the baby, like Baby crawled up on King's lap and wanted kisses just like he would do with Carol. I said, "Watch." I said, "What? Let's see how nice King is." King just patted him like this, and Baby's purring. It was a sight to see. I ran in the house to get my camera, but by the time I got out, that scene was over. This one, like I said, this went on for about 4 years until one time on the radio, I heard that there was a meteorite coming. It wasn't an overly big one, but it was going to hit Earth, right? I was particularly interested in this because they said it was going to hit and land somewhere on my property, on our property. We owned everything around us. So I phoned up the neighbors and I said, "Look," I said, "if you hear or see anything else about this, then let me know. Because anything happening in our backyard, we want to know about it." Because of King and Kong and Baby, right? So, about a week went by, right? And I'm watching the news and things are happening in town, like people are getting attacked and buildings are getting destroyed and things are, just all kinds of stuff, right? So I called Pappy on the phone. I said, "Pappy, is that the Bigfoot doing that in town?" And Pappy was adamant. He says, "Absolutely not. These guys don't go into town. They don't do any damage whatsoever. You've seen that." I said, "I believe you, Pappy." I said, "Well, what's going on with all this damage in town and around the farmers' areas and people losing their gardens and their crops and the cows? Our neighbor lost a lot of cows. Well, we thought it was aliens taking them, right? But it turned out that the meteorite that hit, it did land on our property somewhere. But now the way I know this is because King took me on his back and he took me into the bush for a long way, and we stealthily climbed up the top of this one hill. It was a big hill, and we stood in behind some trees and we could see out. And I couldn't believe what I saw. There was smoke coming up out of the ground where this meteorite hit, but there was also a big crack in the ground where this meteorite hit. And when I looked down there, I thought that they were Bigfoot. There was a lot of them. I pulled out my binocular and I'm looking again, and I say, "They're not Bigfoot. They look like Bigfoot. They're big like Bigfoot, but they got a dog's head on them." So Okay, we get out of there because there's only him and I, and there's like 100 of these things there, right? We go back to my place, and I call up Pappy again, and I tell him what I saw. He says, that sounds like a dog man you got. I said, are they bad? He says, well, if it's not the Bigfoot doing the damage in town, it must be them. He's the one who put that together. I was still shocked from seeing these beasts. He says, uh, it's time that we call in everybody. Now, that alarmed me, because I know just how many dragons there are. And I asked Pappy, I said, how many Bigfoot are there? He says there's at least 15 that I've been able to count at minimum. So, while I was there seeing what, I took some pictures, right, of the dogmen. And we retreated back to my place, and we looked at the photos, and Baby was in the living room, and I'm showing these on my computer in the living room. And when it got to the part where we got a good picture of the dog man on there, Baby changed automatically and ran over to the computer screen and was looking at it like this. I think Baby knew about these beasts. So, I said, Baby, I pointed, I did what Pappy told me to do. He says, you point at him, and you go 1. And you go point at me, that's 2. And you say you need 5, 10, 15, 20. And he knows now, because there's a battle coming. Yeah. He knows. So he goes outside, changes into the big dragon, and leaves. Right? And leaves. Now, these dogmen, they run in packs of a lot of them, and they'll swarm whatever's there, right? So I said to Pappy, I said, call in every Bigfoot you got, every one. So this took a couple of days, but Pappy ended up. He says, if I call now, every Bigfoot that can come will come right now. Right? So I said, call them. About 30 Bigfoot came. 30 of them. You know what it's like to be in the presence of 30 Bigfoot? They are absolutely huge, and they make all kinds of snarling noises and grunts, and it's not a quiet scene. I said, Pappy, I said, show them the pictures of the dog man, right? And Pappy, I had a back porch with a TV screen. We just swung it around like this so they could see, and I ran the footage. Well, they freaked out. They're mad. They're jumping up and down. They're really mad, right? They know these beasts. They know them. So I'm thinking that the meteorite opened up the ground, crack, and they came out of the ground. They live below the ground, these beasts. But that's what I think. I don't think they're from another planet. But I said to Pappy, I said, we have to have every one of these Bigfoot on call, right? So it was maybe an hour after I'm talking to him, right? I saw a Bigfoot on the tree line. Not a Bigfoot, a dogman on the tree line. And I said to myself, well, there's one, there's more. I called up Pappy again. I said, Pappy, we're in deep shit here. I said, these beasts are all on our perimeter, and they do nothing but damage. I said, we're in trouble here. They may even kill us. It's time to call in the reinforcements. I said, so call King and everybody, and I'll try to get every one of my guys there as well, and we'll take these guys on. There's no way that the military is going to handle these guys. There's just no way. They're too big and too strong. They'd swarm any army that was there. Come out of nowhere, and the game would be over. So while I'm talking to Pappy, It starts. They come out of the bush. There's like 50 of them on my property. They came to my property and the other four houses on that road. They came to all the properties at the same time, right? So, mm, uh, Pappy calls, and about 30 of them show up. So they're protecting his place and the next one over, but there's not enough of them to protect my place, right? So, um, we know now that they're going for the town. They'll go right through our place and into the town. And there's only like one sheriff there. There's no protection there. They're going to go through and kill everything. So, uh, I called baby. I called actually. I said baby, and I yelled it out loud, right? Well, actually, I yelled it a couple of times because they're growing masses on our property right there. They're growing their numbers there. And we're in trouble. I got a rifle in my hand. Carol's got a rifle in her hand, and oh man, they started to come at the house, right? And some of the Bigfoot peeled off protecting those and came over. But they were all outnumbered on every house. There was a lot more dogmen than there was Bigfoot. And this battle's going on, man. When a Bigfoot hits a dogman, you know, it's like when a person hits a human and you hear that thud. Well, it was 10 times louder. Boom, 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 boom. Right? And the dogman would swarm a Bigfoot, right? And I'd walk up behind him and let him have it. You're not getting on the back of a Bigfoot in this property, right? So Carol and I retreated back in the house. We're losing this fight. On the way into the house, I called baby one last time. I said, baby, come on. You could hear the urgency in my voice, right? So the Bigfoot are lined up right in front of our home. And the battle's happening on our front porch, basically. And I hear, that's all I hear is the wind off the wings, right? I said to Carol, I said, they're here. I said, they're here. I said, we're going to be okay. And baby and about 100, there's over 1,000 of these dragons. They're just filling the skies. When they open their wings, you can't see the blue anymore. And baby land, boom, right in front of, there was about 5 Bigfoots between me, them and the house, and baby landed on between the Bigfoots and the dogmen, boom, right on the ground there, and about 4 or 5, and they just, with their flames, they just blanketed the whole area like this, right, and killed a whole pile of those things, right, they're all running off screaming and stuff, but a second wave is coming, right, so apparently over at Pappy's place, the dragons landed and did the same thing there for King. Right? Baby didn't even stay here at my place. He was over protecting Pappy. So by the end of the day, this battle had finished, right? There's dead dogmen all over, and now a couple of dead Bigfoot too, right? So Pappy comes over on his trail, like he comes over, he says, are you okay? I said, yeah, we've had a big battle here. Me too, he says, it looks just like this over there. And I says, I'm going to check on the other two neighbors and make sure they're all right. But they were mustering their forces. They were going to move on to town, these dogmen. And Pappy says, don't worry about that. He says, if I read this right, we own the air, we own the ground. And I said, if they come at us again, we're going to kill them all of them. He says, I'm armed now. My neighbors are all armed. He says, the Bigfoots they carry this big club, right? It's a big club. It's well made. It's not like a tree limb. This thing is hardwood, and it's got a rock on the end of it. It's a club, right? And so this battle We started again on right at these 4 houses, but the Bigfoot got some more people there. Now I think we're up to 50 now in the Bigfoot, and the dragons. Some of them would stay on the ground and fight, and some of them would fly in the air. We pushed these dogmen back into the bush for about a mile or so, and that's where the real fight started. I could see the smoke burn. There's over the tree line. I could see smoke burning and the screams and the hollers and stuff was. I saw a baby just go like this with her paw and squish a dogman right down and into the ground. You couldn't even see him anymore. He was shoved in so far. So, yeah, we the dogmen finally fled. Man, can they run, these guys? I think they had about 100 of them in there, and we got them down to about maybe 15, and then they ran, right? So, uh, yeah, my friend next door neighbor's got a front end loader. He picks up all these dead bodies, we dig a hole, and we bury them, right? Took us the whole day to do that. There was a lot of them, Bigfoot and everything. I said, and so. Uh, it took us 2 days to rest and but we get back into the routine where we have a fire in the backyard, right? And King and Kong wouldn't go too far. They stuck around the house for protection like sentries, right? But that night we had the fire. I could see. Baby was off somewhere. She wasn't in the house in Portsmouth. She was off. She comes back. She lands right by the fire, and she brought 2 other ones with her. So there's King and Kong and Baby and her 2 friends. It was a peaceful night. Nobody growled, nobody nothing. We fed them, we patted them, we sort of played with them a little bit. And so Baby just shrunk down into the little one, right? For that. She didn't stay big. The only time she stayed big is when there was going to be trouble, right? So she shrunk down. She was fine. King and Kong, they really liked Baby. Now they really like Baby. I wouldn't want to be the one to try to do harm to Baby, because King and Kong would settle that real quick. So, the moral of this story is this: even your enemies, you can love them. King and Kong and Baby, they were mortal enemies for thousands of years. And all it took was a little bit of love to bring them together. So, the town folk were out trying to figure out what was going on, because they thought they were under attack, right? But there were no bodies, there were no nothing, and we just said to them, we don't know what you're talking about. But we knew exactly what happened. The Bigfoot and the dragons came to the humans' defense. And we will never forget that, Pappy, and Karen and Carol and I. We're never going to forget that. Now, while the battle was going on, I got a phone call, so I took the phone call. And it was the dispatcher asking me, is everything all right out there? I said, I told her, I said, do you trust me? She says, yeah. I said, is anybody listening to this? She goes, no. I said, don't send anybody out here. Keep everybody away. I said, we got a battle going on between the Bigfoot, the dragons, are on one side, and the dogmen, which was a lot of them, I said, on the other side. No, we've had a battle. We won the battle. But we're still cleaning up, I said. And there's still a couple of them out there waiting for us to step out. So don't come over, stay away. So, about a month later, she knock, knock, knock. She comes to my door. I know who it is. I invite her in, right? I give her a drink, we sit down and we talk. And I told her this story. And her mouth went, I said, yeah. I said, those Bigfoot and that dragon saved the town and everybody in it. And you, I said. Because these dogmen, they are vicious and they travel in packs, I said. So, She says, I see. She says, I said, you need to do whatever you can do to hide this secret from everybody, from people in town, from anybody. I'm relying on you and that other police officer to do this. Now, this is the same dispatcher that went to Pappy's that day. And Pappy told me about her, so I knew who she was. So, every night we had a fire, and King and Kong would come every night. And if Baby wasn't there, they'd be looking over where I usually put Baby. So I'd go in and get Baby, put him there, change into a small Baby, and they have a good time. It was really something to see the way that the Bigfoot and the dragons made up. So that's the power of love. You know, it took the threat of another a force to really show that these people, they were kind. Humans, Bigfoot, and dragons. So yeah, this was all kept from town. All kept from town. And the mayor, he came out, he says he wanted to see one. I said, no. I said, if you don't keep this property so that people can't come here, either indigenous land or something, a national park or something, I said, dragons are going to take you and barbecue you like you were a roast. Now, he's already seen the Bigfoot, so don't worry, he says. I've already got stuff in the works for that section. We'll just do it for the whole section. I said, okay. I have a bonfire here every night pretty well. You're welcome to come as long as you don't take pictures and you don't go home and tell everybody that this happened. It's just fine. So that's what happened for the next very long time. Is we were saved by the Dogman, from the Dogman. Can you imagine if Bigfoot and dragons didn't exist? What those Dogmen would do? From what I could see, they multiplied like crazy. They had packs of like 8 or 9 in each one. So every time one of them got pregnant, it multiplied their numbers by 9. That's it for that story. So when you're in bed at night and you hear a noise outside, don't go outside, just look through the window. I have a feeling you might see a Bigfoot or a dragon. Bye everyone. Blessings for everybody in your family. If you could like and subscribe and hit the notification bell, that'd be great. Stay strong, be kind. So by God's overflowing grace, by Jesus Christ's constant love, and by the guidance and support and protection and the joy that the Holy Spirit puts on all of us, we'll all see each other again down the road in heaven. Have a good day, everyone. Bye-bye.